Let's start at the center of attention for every foreigner in the Philippines seeking an urban utopia. BGC, Bonifacio Global City. Many foreigners will say this is where to go in Manila to live the good life. To the untrained eye, it's an expat's fantasy. On the surface, this place feels like the dream of what an American city's downtown could be. Clean streets, wide sidewalks, security guards at every corner. Safety doesn't just feel like a promise here, it feels like a complete product. You can't blame people for being dazzled. It's not just modern, it actually feels intentional. Every curb, every cafe, every crosswalk, like it's been placed with precision, like an architect's dream come to life. This isn't a foreigner's utopia. It's a vision built for upwardly mobile, educated Filipinos, those who work in the call centers, the banks, the international firms. English is an export here. White-collar jobs power this district. So the success story isn't about a foreigner's retirement dreams or digital nomads. It's about the Philippines staking its claim as part of the global economy. Bonifacio High Street, its central promenade, is an urban planner's wet dream. Somewhere between an open-air museum of clever outdoor spaces and Instagram-worthy shots from every angle. If Manhattan and downtown Los Angeles got together and had a baby, this might be what it looked like. But if you left the United States to get away from consumer culture, only to end up here, you might realize you've just stepped into a shinier, newer version of the very thing you left behind. If you came here seeking an escape from Western excess, BGC might feel strangely deja vu. The same corporate chains, the same brands, the same promise that luxury equals happiness, just with better weather and more smiles. Inside, it's a bubble. Towering condos, corporate headquarters, international banks, and malls. So many malls. Hidden inside towers, tucked down alleyways, waiting behind glass doors. Outside, the sidewalks are lined with restaurants and cafes, mostly not mom and pop shops, nor little hole-in-the-wall hidden gyms, but chains, expensive chains, the kind of places that could be anywhere in the world. Something about the design distracted me right from the start. Maybe it's because BGC used to be a military base, and you can still sense it in the layout. Limited entry and exit points that keep it all contained, tactical, controlled. That design also creates choke points, traffic jams, bottlenecks, the kind of frustration you can't just design away overnight. Just beyond BGC's southern edge lies the Manila American Cemetery and Memorial, the last permanent holdout of the ground's older identity. Tens of thousands of World War II graves, Filipino and American, and the names of thousands more whose bodies were never found. The air feels heavy here, as if it knows it's the last place in Manila where silence is frozen in time. Surrounding it, life surges ahead. McKinley Hill, arguably a sibling district to BGC, and they seem to hold hands around the cemetery, but definitely an extension of its ambition. If BGC is the model city, McKinley Hill is the prototype for future Philippine urban development. Themed villages, global franchises, and one surreal centerpiece, the Venice Grand Canal Mall, complete with gondolas drifting between a maze of European architecture. It's all charm and fantasy, like a movie set built on the bones of memory. More recently, BGC grows northward. Uptown, the younger sibling. Same DNA, same ambition, but louder, brighter, more vertical. It's as if the city can't stop cloning itself. The formula works too well. Safety, order, Western familiarity, and a future that feels clean, predictable, contained. But containment has a price. Try leaving BGC during rush hour, and you'll see there are only a handful of exits, narrow and deliberate. What once protected an army now imprisons a population of commuters. And yet, within those walls, literal and invisible, life thrives. For young Filipinos, this is aspiration realized, stable jobs and modern comforts their elders may have never had. For foreigners, it's an easy landing pad, a soft new beginning. It's beautiful, it's safe, it's seductive, but beneath the polished veneer, BGC is haunted, not by ghosts of the dead, but by the quiet hum of what came before, the military boundaries that remain. And when you finally step beyond those boundaries, everything changes. Because outside the walls of perfection, a different Manila begins. Now, cross over into Makati, the old business district, old money. It's not so shiny and new like BGC, but it carries serious weight and is also talked about often in expat nomad circles. Wide sidewalks shaded by trees, green space woven into the concrete islands, a city that feels both alive and boxed in at the same time. Here, you'll find grit, a little chaos, a little charm, but always traffic. Thick, permanent traffic. You can feel it immediately, the difference in rhythm. BGC is almost cinematic in its modern perfection. Makati, on the other hand, feels like more of a living urban organism. It breathes. It exhales fumes and humidity, sure, but also the nostalgia of a city that's been carrying the country's ambitions for generations. The streets are shaded with decades-old trees that stretch out over the traffic below. In Makati, you can walk, you can explore, but you can't escape the sense of being stuck. Taxis and grab rides cost more than you would expect. Jeepneys are hard to navigate if you're not fluent in the unwritten system. Tricycles only go short distances. And the rail lines, they don't quite pull the city together just yet. So this is where Manila shows its hand, a city of incredible ambition, but where the movement of millions is choked by bottlenecks of history and planning. Change is underway, and there's much more coming. Existing rails almost resemble a bow and arrow upon Manila maps. A direct line connecting Makati to BGC is in the plans. If Manila's mass transit evolves into a true network, it will transform how tens of millions live, work, and move, consequently reshaping a foreigner's experience entirely. Suddenly, these and other business districts wouldn't feel so isolated. You could flow through the city instead of fighting it. But for now, it feels like you're caught in between. Amid the metal and the glass and the concrete, there are small pockets of stillness. The Greenbelt courtyard and several tree-lined and tree-filled parks where weekend markets bloom like little rebellions. You can feel the city exhale there. Birds compete with the car horns, and people, even just for a moment, remember what unhurried feels like. But these green spaces, as welcome as they are, also underline a quiet truth: how little room there is left to move. The grass feels borrowed, the calm temporary. The skyline is closing in from every direction. That's my paradox of Makati. It's a place that represents motion, money, success, yet more often than not, I felt stuck. Not metaphorically, literally. The traffic is relentless. It's a daily ritual of waiting, in cars, on corners, under overpasses. It felt a bit like a beautiful combination of breathing and suffocating at the same time. And then there's Poblacion district, technically part of Makati, but in reality, its own little universe. Poblacion is a layered collision of old and new Manila. Here, nothing is hidden. Poverty and wealth crash into each other in plain sight. Stand on any corner here and you'll see it all at once, the whole spectrum. Street food and craft cocktails, street beggars and sports cars, sari-sari stores with iron-gated windows a few steps away from Michelin-rated restaurants, neon red light bars next to hipster rooftops, family-owned eateries that have been there for generations, now neighbors with glassy condo towers. It's raw, it's chaotic, and it's alive in a way that neither BGC nor Makati can quite touch. For some, Poblacion is just nightlife, a place to drink, to dance, to see and be seen. But for others, it's where you see a real Manila laid bare, a fever dream of contradictions. The wealth, the struggle, the hustle, all crammed into a few square blocks. In Poblacion, you feel what happens when growth bumps up against memory. Progress meets resistance. The walls seem to hold stories that can't be built over, only lived with. And just up the road, the glow of the power plant mall, lavish, polished, luxurious, almost another world, where imported wine shops, boutique gelato, or scaled displays of urban development projects all around the Philippines. Poblacion is a living collage of everything Manila is: wealth and want, excess and simplicity, new and old. Here, the boundaries between worlds, they don't just blur, they overlap. That's what makes Poblacion intoxicating. It refuses to be flattened into a single story. So maybe this is a more true lens through which to see Manila. BGC is the city's ambition, Makati is its establishment, but Poblacion is its soul, the place where every layer collides in plain sight. Poblacion throws it all into a blender and dares you to take a sip. Underneath it all, the pulse is real. It's what you came here for, and what, if you're honest, makes it hard to leave. And then there's Intramuros, the memory that Manila can't and shouldn't forget. This is the old walled city, built under Spanish occupation in the late 1500s, when the Philippines was a colony on the far edge of empire. A fragment of Europe in the heart of Asia, its stones have absorbed everything: conquest, faith, trade, and tragedy. You can feel it as you walk the cobblestones, the uneven rhythm beneath your feet, the cool shade under the centuries-old walls that once divided colonizer from colonized. Intramuros is both beautiful and haunted. Every echo bounces off a past that's still alive here. Carriages ride past ruins that were once grand monasteries and fortresses. Tourists take selfies where priests and soldiers once debated the fate of souls. The smell of roasted corn mixes with the faint salt of the nearby Pasig River, a river that has seen everything and forgiven nothing. It's easy to romanticize Intramuros, but to walk it with open eyes is to remember how much was lost. In the final days of World War II, this place was turned to ash. Unimaginable suffering fell on the people trapped inside. And what we see today are the bones of what survived, restored fragments of a city that once dreamt of eternity. Just beyond the gates lies Binondo, Manila's Chinatown, the oldest in the world. Established in 1594, it was where Chinese traders were allowed to live and trade under Spanish watch long before the idea of globalization even had a name. Today, the same streets hum with another kind of empire: food. Vendors shouting, delivery bikes weaving through alleys barely wide enough for a car. Here, the past and present don't just coexist, they negotiate with each other. Every block is an argument between what was and what's next. One moment you're standing in front of a crumbling colonial archway, and the next you're inside a fluorescent lit mall selling bubble tea and iPhones. So Manila has a way of collapsing centuries into seconds. And then, when the sun sets, something unexpected but unsurprising happens. The Pasig River, that line separating Intramuros and Binondo, it comes alive again. Along the riverfront, a night market blooms. Dozens upon dozens of food stalls flicker to life under strings of LED bulbs. Music spills out from portable speakers. Families, lovers, students, everyone seems to come out for the same thing: air. For a few hours each night, the city seems to forgive itself. You see kids chasing each other between food carts, couples sharing skewers of barbecue, the elders on overwatch duty by the water. Behind them, the dark outlines of warehouses and buildings in varying states of repair, reminders of how hard this city has had to fight to keep joy alive. And it's a momentary reprieve, yes, but it's also something more profound. In a city that's always rebuilding, always being reborn, these fleeting pockets of happiness matter. They're proof that life, like the river, keeps moving, even when it's burdened by memory. And on that riverbank between Binondo and Intramuros, where smoke and laughter rise into the Manila night, you can almost see the whole story of this city, its scars, its grace, and its stubborn, undying hope. Manila is massive. not just in size, but in the sheer density of its meanings. It's a sprawl of stories stacked atop one another. Colonial dreams, wartime scars, capitalist ambitions, everyday survival, all at once. What most of us end up seeing is just a sliver of that. Now, I've only traced the outline of what's comfortable. The parts where the Wi-Fi is fast, the coffee's familiar, and the English flows freely enough to make a foreigner feel like they understand something. BGC, Makati, Intramuros, Binondo, these are the places people talk about because they're easy to reach, easy to photograph, easy to romanticize. But they're not the whole story, not even close. I used to think places like Manila could be understood, that if you spent enough time walking the streets, talking to locals, reading history, you could piece it all together. But the longer I'm here, the more I realize that Manila doesn't want to be solved. It's not a riddle. It's not even a story with a clear beginning and end. It's a living, breathing collision of empires and ambitions, dreams and disappointments. Every corner is both new and ancient. Every smile carries a little bit of struggle. But give it time. If you walk its streets without an agenda, if you let yourself get lost between the malls and the markets, the overpasses and the alleyways, something shifts. You start to see the coherence in the chaos, the tenderness in its survival. For a foreigner, there are important lessons here. You come looking for comfort, an affordable version of a Western life, a cosmopolitan bubble where everything makes sense. But some end up finding something else entirely. In the end, Manila doesn't hand you the good life, neatly packaged. It gives you something more complicated. It isn't the polished dream some expats make it out to be, but it's a city alive. And that aliveness, the contradictions, the imperfections, that might just be the real story. Manila, it's not a destination, it's an education. It's a graduate level course in history, economics, sociology, political science. And you don't just read about it, you have to live it. And maybe that's enough. After a while, maybe you'll stop trying to make sense of Manila and you'll let it make some sense of you. It is a city that keeps asking, what are you really looking for? Now, if you've made it this far, thanks for putting up with my monologue, but I've got a couple bonus tips for you. And the first one is this, the SM Aura Mall in McKinley Hill near the Venice. Be sure you go to the rooftop of that mall anywhere around the sunset hours later in the day and at night. The skyline views are pretty spectacular, and the setup they have there as a photographable moment from all angles. There's very few people that know about it and go up there. Be sure you do it, but it would be blazing hot in the middle of the day. That's number one. Number two, the Manila American Cemetery and Memorial. It's open every single day except Christmas and New Year, unless something crazy happens that I don't know about. It's a very powerful and moving place. It can be a very emotional visit. And if you want to do it right and take it slow, give yourself some time, an hour or 2 hours. If you are prior service military, either Philippine or American, at 4:45 in the afternoon every single day, they play taps to lower those two flags, the American and Philippine flags. And they will let you help them lower the flag, fold it, put it away for the night. So anybody that is prior service or current military for either of those two countries, or anybody in general that just respects like military history, it can be a profoundly emotional and moving thing to participate in. So thanks for coming along on this adventure, and I'll see you in the next one.